So I don't have any qualms beating Google's system or beating Google at their game or ranking or manipulating their search engines. I actually have no problem doing it for any of them, because you get it done 100 times or 50 times. Now, what you don't want to do is overdo it. If you're gonna try to game the system, this is what I call like a little bit gray hat. So there's white hat, which is obviously white magic, so it's like the good magic. There's black magic, which is the bad magic, right? And gray is kind of somewhere in the middle, right? It's gray. But gray hat techniques, I love them because I actually like black hat techniques too, because first of all, I'm a big believer that these search engines don't give two you-know-whats about you guys. They don't give two you-know-whats about me. We use, and they sell the living hell out of it. So I don't have any qualms beating Google's system or beating Google at their game or ranking or manipulating their search engines. I actually have no problem doing it for any of them, because that's what we are. We're marketers. We're supposed to generate leads. We're supposed to be as omnipresent as humanly possible on the internet for these lead gen properties that we're in. And so any angle, edge, cheat code that I can have to beat the competitors by outsmarting them, like when they look at like a Quora post, let's say, and there's 150 comments and it's glued to the top of Google, and your Quora thing's glued to the top of Quora, and it's building and bringing you in traffic. Don't make it your end all be all. This is not how you're going to make hay or anything like that. But at the very least, it's a way to move the competitors down or move whatever you want down in the search engines. And I think a lot of us need to be doing more things like this. Once we have our lead gen properties up, we should be taking every free opportunity known to man to be able to get more real estate out there on the web, so we have more probability of people running into it, right? If you only have one 7-Eleven on one road, your odds of getting all the customers from that town are much lower than if you had 10 7-Elevens on 10 main roads, right? So the more ways and the more things that we can have out on the internet, that's why I'm always talking about more shoes on the shelf. If you guys have been around for any amount of time, you've heard me say that. That comes from my Foot Locker days when I was in high school selling shoes. It was like, if I only had one shoe on the shelf and I sold it, then I'm out of business. Like all the new customers that are driving by or coming in every day, I don't have anything to sell them. So this business is no different, even though it's digital, it's not a physical product. This business is the same thing. So how many shoes do you have on the shelf? Meaning how many lead gen properties do you have out there? And then once you have those out there, when I say pillow, it's kind of like add these other things around it that are free that you can do in a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, and start moving those things up the search engines and giving yourself more opportunity to potentially snag one of those searchers that's on Google that's searching for the question that you just helped, when you asked it and then you helped answer it with the group or other accounts that you might have. So with the micro workers, you're manipulating the upvotes, the comments, and what have you by paying these workers to go do it for you, go answer it. And so again, these are generally third world countries. This is a way that they can get on and have gigs nonstop. By the way, not that I think this is what you should be doing with your time, but like there is no shortage of being able to make money. If someone truly has time, you can sign up as a micro worker. I used to do this, guys, when I was making $100,000 a month. If that gives you guys in like, that was like back in the day when I started, like within the first 3 or 4 months or so when I think we were up to like $100,000 a month profit in our pockets. I was still doing these because it got me, it wasn't, I needed the 20 cents for doing it. It got me into the headspace of all the different things that people were pushing gigs out for me to do. And then I found angles that I could play. And so I do think that using services like this and then actually becoming a worker, not for necessarily this big income, because you're not going to make much, but it gives you some context that for like what's happening in the real world. right? You see a YouTube video or you see a core thing and you see, oh, it's got 1,900 upvotes. You're like, whoa, this must be really, really popular. It could be, or it could be manipulated. And so until we start to understand that what meets your eye and what you see, don't always take it for face value. I think we see this all the time right now. Those documentaries I talked about the other day, these are perfect examples of that. Like many of us didn't know Pokemon Go. Many of us know what it was. Many of us didn't know that Google incubated that product. Right? For 4 or 5 years, they incubated Pokemon Go, and they knew people wouldn't want to use it at the same level if it came from Google. So they put it to, I think it was like Nanitic Labs or something like that, which was some new hip startup that they basically pushed it off to, who was the company that quote unquote made it, right? But in all reality, what really was going on and is going on with Pokemon Go is it's this, this game kids play, and they go find these Pokemon characters or whatever they do. And it was a way for Google to sell a different form of advertising called footfall. So they knew that they could predict people landing in front of a McDonald's. So a lot of people were like, well, man, I was on a diet and and then next thing you know, I was just hungry. So I bought a quarter pounder with cheese and a Coke. And I don't even know how I let myself do that. And it's like, you don't know how much you were manipulated to get there, right? You don't know that you're part of a game, that they're actually moving you where they want to move you, because that's how far ahead they are of you. And so what doesn't always meet the eye isn't always what's going on. So it's important when you look at these different things on like a micro workers, it's important that you guys start understanding that marketing, there's a lot of behind the scenes things happening that I think people think are real, but they're really not. They're totally manipulated. They're totally orchestrated, right? Let me show you something real quick.